Good morning and welcome to this edition of Meet iToBoS, where you have the opportunity to get to know another one of our colleagues. And we are particularly excited to have Elena with us this morning, who is actually the engineer behind this iToBoS whole body scanner. So we have all been wondering actually how what it would look like. So Elena, it's a pleasure to have you here. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, so your background, what your concrete role in the project is, and then of course we are very excited to see what you have to show us today. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Bettina, and good morning, everyone. I'm the project manager of the iToBoS for the Bosch, Robert Bosch company part. I'm in charge of the leading of the work package 5, which is inside the consortium. It is the part where we are going to assemble the machines. We have two machines, one going to Barcelona and another one going to Trieste in Italy. Okay, so you also asked me about my background. I'm an industrial engineer. I was trained in Madrid and later in Paris, where I started my career for 8 years. I'm merely mechanics and polymers. I did my thesis in polymers. And I have been working in the automotive industry since the beginning. That makes 25 years now. First in Paris, in another big supplier of the automotive industry, and then in Bosch. In Bosch, I was at the very beginning designing machines. That was my job. Then I became project manager, and now I'm inside the business development department, who is in charge of the very first concept of the machines, the quotation, and also I'm in charge of the innovation management. Okay, that's where I am. And I would like to start sharing the presentation to explain you a little bit who we are in the world Bosch. Bosch Manufacturing Solutions. This is the division I work on, and then very, very fast we will go to the prototype itself, which I'm sure you want to see. Sorry, I forgot to share my screen. I go to that, share this one, my presentation. There we are.
Perfect, looks great.
Great, you see it? So two fast slide about us. Bosch Manufacturing Solution, as I said, is the division inside Bosch in charge of building the machines which will manufacture the product of Bosch, okay? An alternator, a battery, a sensor, whatever. We, Bosch Manufacturing, will build the machine, which will be in charge of that. And then they will be put online and we will create an assembly line. So not only we are doing those lines, we are also working in the manufacturing processes and technology, the very detail inside the machine, as you see in this small picture, also digital solutions, after sales, market, and so on. Very fast set where we are. Bosch Manufacturing Solution, we are about 5,000 employees all around the world, 9 locations. I'm going to center the explanation in Bosch Manufacturing Solutions in Madrid. We are 120 employees with a sales revenue of around 60 million euros. We are not very big. But anyway, we are able to deliver machines online all over the assembly plants of Bosch in the world. And this is where we are. As you have seen, the city has surrounded us. We used to be at the outside of the city, but Madrid became very big. And this, I hope you can see my mouse, is the place where the iToBoS is currently placed, because we are already working in a prototype, as I will show you now. Last view, as a division, we have a director. Bosch Manufacturing Solutions in Spain has a director. This person is also very important in the project because he's in charge of all the engineering and project management. All the resources which are working in the working in the iToBoS are here, hanging in some complex structure here. We have the manufacturing, purchasing. I also want to highlight our quality management manager, who is directly taking care of the validation of the iToBoS. Then our department, my boss, who is in charge of the sales, and also the sales project and business development, which is my staff. Here I am. Of course, there's 100 people missing here. It was just to place me. And this, that you could say it's an ugly thing, it was the very first concept that we have of the iToBoS. What we tried to do is to have something very flexible where the cameras could reach any point in the space, because the mapping of the bodies and the requirements of the cameras were not known at the beginning of the project. So I imagine something like an hexagon, half an hexagon, as you can see at the screen. And those are movable axes, all at the sides of the hexagon, at 90 degrees of the hexagon. And this that you can see are the vision system. This cloud or dark points that you can see are the result that came later of the positions that the camera should reach for each body, which has been one of our biggest challenge at the beginning of the project, the diversity of the human body. As you can see in this cloud, there are some points which are not reachable by this machine. This machine was already very big. It was a problem for the hospital to have it in the rooms. You must understand it is a prototype. We cannot hire a special place to set them. So we must restrain ourselves to the available surface. And then when the mapping came, we realized it was too small, but it was already too big for the hospital. That means that the concept was not suitable for the application. The core reason for this concept, it was the time of the trial, of the test. We didn't want the patient to be there lying for 2 hours. I don't know if one of you have already had a resonant magnetic test that can last 45 minutes. Well, I haven't. It's a time to be there. It's not the best thing you could do with your time. You have to be there. We didn't want to go there. That's why we decided to have many cameras working in parallel. 15. That means 3 per arch and 5 arches. But the concept was too big. It was the project. So what we did, we discussed with the doctors and the other technicians and so on, and we thought that it was possible to change the strategy of the image acquisition. That is, what we were doing at the beginning, it was to map the whole body and to take pictures, a battery of 30 pictures for each small area of the mapping, and then to analyze that. That takes a lot of time. So we decided to change the way we take the pictures, and as long as we are scanning the body, we will stop whenever we find a mark bigger than 4 millimeters, and then we will take the pictures. In how can I say, in an average person, we will not be stopping at many parts of the body, because average person has not a lot of 4 millimeters marks. This makes that the time of the proof will be lower. So we do not need 15 cameras. So we can go to the concept we will willing to have, which are robots. Robots are much more easy to set in the hospital, easier for them to use. And this is the concept we are going to build and you are going to see in the hospitals. 4 robots, one at each corner of a bed, and each robot will be moving a vision system. I'm going to talk later about the collaborative application of those robots. Now, the concept that you see is very easy. We have fixed the space problem. I want you to know that it is still not built in Madrid. We have finished the mechanical design, the electrical design, and we have one single robot which is being used for communication trials, calibration of the vision system. Next thing we are going to do with another one of those robots are the collaborative trials. And then, or even, let's say, at the same time, however we can do it, we will build the machine, the first machine that goes to Barcelona. About what is a collaborative robot. For those who are not familiar with the robotics, what we are currently calling a collaborative robot is just an industrial robot that can safely work in a workspace shared with humans. What's happening with a normal industrial robot? That it is moving according to a program, to a software. And if someone gets in the middle, it will collide and hit. The difference with a collaborative robot is that when the collisions happens, the sensitiveness is enough to stop without injury. Okay? The use of robots in medicine fields, it's nothing new. I did some search lately, and I want to share with you very, very fast. Do you see the screen still? Yeah. What you see now is just some hints about robots which are coming to the end of the 18th. This is what we call the Da Vinci, which is more exigent project because we are touching the body. Of course, the iToBoS is not going to touch the body. You see all the robots we are using. This picture you are seeing at the screen is not what you are going to have in iToBoS. It will look a little bit more like that because we are working in prototypes. Well, not like that, but do not expect that neither. Okay, very fast about collaborative robots. And now the collaborative application. This is very important for the patient to know that collaborative applications are not something new. They are determined by standards, the N13849 and another one, and we have to perform them according to systematic and with a special equipment. Once again, the robot will never touch the body, but the body could touch the robot. I can get nervous and decide to stand up when the trial is happening. In that moment, I can hit. It will be me hitting the robot. And I must be sure that I'm not injured if it happens. As I said, the robot will stop. Since it feels the hit, it will stop. The question is, in the second that the robot stops, the pressure could be too high. That's the key, the pressure. There, it has been determined which are the pressure point, the limit of pressure that certain points of the body can resist with an injury. Our deal as designers is not that complex like that, because finally pressure, what I have to avoid are sharp edge. If I go to my hand with a sharp edge, the pressure is very big and I feel the pain. If I go with a flat surface, it's nothing at all. And this is what we did in the design and what we are going to test. That's why the vision system is protected with this special housing, which is made, of course, by measure. We decided to use additive manufacturing. For those who are in the field, they will know. First of all, we have a holder for the vision, the illumination, and so on, which is done also special for the project. And then we designed a housing round as we could with some foam at the bottom. And this is what we are going to test. I'm very optimistic about that, and I'm going to show you why, because we started to do some simulations. You're going to see now a video. I apologize of poor quality because I have to take it by myself. Yesterday, I wanted to show it to you. We have found this is a simulated movement, okay? It is not coordinated by the main computer. You are going to see several things in this video. First, the simulated path. Second, you're going to see how my colleague is activating the robot just by touching with his finger. That will give you an idea of the sensitivity of the robot. Yeah? It's real. There's no one else touching or anywhere else. It's real by feeling the finger of my colleague. And behind, you can see the very first prototype, the famous arc we started to build, and we have to stop because of the reason I explained. So there I go. As you know, we are not going to scan the head. The head, very likely, the patients will have glasses because of the illumination they could get disturbed with. And our idea is to protect the whole head with an cage, an open cage, just with, I don't know how to say it, open enough to not to feel uncomfortable with that. Why? Because the biggest pressure points are the eyes and are in the head. So if we can avoid to test that area, we can increase the speed of the test. Okay, we are trying to find the optimum approach or compromise between the safety and the comfort. If I make this robot move really, really slowly and the test takes 2 hours, you are going to be very safe, but this is over safety. Okay. That was my presentation. This is the state of the prototype. As you see, there's a long way still to complete. And if you have questions, I will be glad to answer them.
Thank you so much for that. That was really like, well, it's becoming real now. Thanks so much for that, and thanks for taking the time to actually recording a video. So really great. I'm sure there are questions for Elena now. See that we have quite a few people who joined us, so please.
I'll start with a question because I'm interested in the noise, really. I mean, I know a lot of our patients, you know, they're ready for an MRI machine, which is extremely noisy, but these are moving parts. And I know you've only got a prototype, so that's something you could probably refine. But I'm just interested to know if you're going to have 4 robots at each corner kind of idea. How is that going to sound to patients?
The sound, it's almost none. The movement of the robot is nothing to be compared to the magnet fields, the next resonance magnetic fields. In fact, one thing we were thinking about, and there's also something that will be discussed later, is to give some information to the patient. Okay, maybe if it is too long, the robot could open, they get open like that, and said, now you can move, take a rest, reposition yourself, and then go back. I have to see that with Coronis and the University of Girona, if this could disturb the modeling. But the noise, it will be not a problem. It's really quite comfortable, the first feeling I had. And it's just the time you have to lie in there.
So, Elena, how big will be the whole device that you are developing at the end? Because I see now that the bed is quite narrow. It's not, but it's comfortable. It's looking okay. But I imagine, and as we saw at the beginning, there is something around the body. So there is an enclosure there. How much space will will occupy that in the hospital or a clinic?
Yeah, there's no enclosure. What you have seen is what it is. They are completely open.
Okay.
So the bed currently we have calculated at 120 millimeters width. So it can be 2 meters something, the width, and the length, I don't know, a little bit more, maybe 3 meters. Those dimensions I will give it to you later, because we are trying to meet the expectation of the room in the clinic of Barcelona, which is really small. And maybe we have to move a little bit some of the cabinets. If you remember, the robots were standing on cabinets, and maybe we have to modify, but those are the rough dimensions. Okay, we are not with 4 and 5 meter, which was the problem of the arches concept.
I mean, this is something for us, I think, is probably just in terms of, well, we're always interested in like as many people benefiting from it as possible. So something that will take less space, of course, will be easier in that respect because you have less of the space constraints. So that's really interesting to think of. So what's the next step? So I thought it was really interesting in seeing all the concerns and about the safety and what you do and how the stepwise process. So for those of us who are not engineers, so what's the next step?
There's many. We have to work separately because there's many things to do. To me, one of the most important ones is to validate the vision system. Without that, we have nothing. Move the robot is not that complicated. That's why we have a prototype. We have to validate the vision system, calibrate it to get real pictures, and to communicate. The robot has to communicate with the PC, with the computer, in order to get the path. The vision system will tell the robot where to go, and the robot has to go. This is the most important thing we have to do. In parallel, we are doing the collaborative test, which looks like they are going to go very fast. And all of that is going to happen at the same time that we build the machine. We really built it just side by side with the rest of the robots. We will start to put it in a moment. We will have, or maybe not, to disassemble the prototype and to get it into the whole machine. And then we will get everything together and start trials and so on. Those trials will happen in Madrid. And as you have seen, we have a dummy. And once that's done, we will start with the patient volunteers phase.
So another question from me, from technical point of view, at the beginning, at the start of the project, we had the proposal that the patient is staying like he's standing up and everything is around him. And then we changed, all the consortium actually agreed to change the position of the patients. From your point of view, is this more advantageous for the patient, for the technology that you are using? You are taking the most of the technology just because the patient is laying and is not standing up?
For the technology, which is responsibility of Bosch, there's no difference. The pointer, the liquid lens, which are in the cameras, they have this effect of coma compensation. I guess Xavier already explained it, optotune. and somehow they will become astigmat. I think we said there's a deformation of the liquid, and they have to be like that, in vertical, with the head pointing to the ground. This is the perfect position for them to work. So if you imagine, if we have, in the worst case, 3/4 of an hour, a patient with the cameras standing like that, the patient is standing and the camera like that, finally the liquid will go to the bottom and we have a poor quality. Okay. And me personally, as a patient, I prefer if the test is lying and not standing. It's harder to be without moving when you are standing. For the hospital, it's worse.
I don't know. As a patient, it's difficult to say what a patient will feel like. I feel that I have more control if I'm standing than when I'm in this vulnerable position on the back. And so for us, it was a bit of disappointing at the beginning that we didn't use the initial position. But I think I'm getting used now with the idea. And if we see that they are doing better than what we have actually on the market, probably we will just be happy with what we have. So it's good in any way. Thank you.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
I think it's the flipping over. I think it's the flipping over to do the back in a confined space. But as you said, the machines can actually then go back, give you a chance to turn over, a bit of respite. So I think that would be quite cool.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen. The robots will open, the patient will turn without problem of the space, and then we will recover the test.
And then one quick question from my side. I'm Gabriel. I'm a melanoma patient. So I'm doing a lot of screenings on my skin to discover new melanomas, and unfortunately I didn't. So that's the good part. But taking into consideration that okay, you have the robot, but I guess also the software is very important, right? For me, if I have so many screenings, can I get them into your software and compare the results, the old results with the new ones? So what is the possibility to do that? Because for me, it's important, right? I have some results. I want to keep them.
Yeah,
and want to make sure that with your new system, I can compare them.
That's the target of the iToBoS that I did not explain because that's not my part. This is not into my work. This will be the artificial intelligence, but it is exactly that. We are mapping the body, we will detect the marks, and then we will repeat the trials, I don't know, 6 months later to see the variation. This will be done thanks to an artificial intelligence, which we have called the cognitive assistant. This is, I cannot answer more questions about that.
Thanks.
It's in another work package, but this, what you said, it is exactly what we are looking for, the change of the lesions, of the marks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ramona.
Yes, hello. Hello, I'm on the street, so I will turn off my camera, sorry.
Thank you very much.
I was not here from the beginning. I came after a few minutes. I'm a melanoma patient. I want to continue something for Gabriel. I did Vectra 2 times in Vienna. I did it before Molmax, also in Vienna. My follow-up is in Vienna. So the data from the Molmax didn't use for the Vectra. They can't use it. So the first time when I was last year, they scanned me, and only this year, the second time, they used the data and compared the images. So I'm not sure if we can use the past with the new.
There's a point with the difference of the cameras, the vision system we are using. In the public, there's maybe someone that can answer better than me. The artificial intelligence has to be set with some premises. with some specifications. You have to choose if you are going to do an artificial intelligence for image taken with the same vision systems, or you have to take into account different vision systems.
Yes,
Currently,
you cannot. Yeah.
Currently, I think there has been some trials exactly with Vectra, but I don't know how far they are, because this was out of the scope of the project. Finally, we get it in to advance some things, but I don't know if at the end of the project, what you are asking for will be possible. This, Bettina, maybe it should be addressed the question to the NTUA, who are responsible of that part.
I have already taken notes because I think it's a very valid point. Just for explanation. So the first thing is that the idea is that if you scan that, thanks to the AI, the underlying AI, one can already recognize if a single lesion is malign. So the idea is that if you just scan once, you already pick up those that are not okay. But of course, that doesn't help you with the evolution. So the things that you can't the change in a single image, you obviously can't see the change. And I've definitely taken this down because this, and we've been discussing a lot about data and image sharing, but we have never actually touched the topic of compatibility between different systems and like a long-term perspective, because as you can hear, this is now the second time, this is what people care about. We all know, and I think our forums are full of it, that people say like there's something not quite all right, and they go to one GP and the next GP and the third GP, and every time they hear it's nothing, and in the end it is a melanoma. So I think this evolution and the change over time is something that people are very sensitive to. So I think I've taken notes. I think it's a really good idea. So we will follow up with the colleagues and see how we, just like how this works. And for the colleagues who just asked the questions about the recognition, we hope to have another session on the AI part, like a meet iToBoS session like now. So please come back, and then we can hopefully get some deeper insights into that part of it.
Hello, congratulations for your work. It's very interesting. And I would like to ask you if your robot is okay for kids, because I am a melanoma patient. I have 3 kids, and of course I'm preoccupied with their safe and health. And they are okay for now, but I want to know if the robot will be able to monitor their skin, their body, and everything. Because you talked about the radiation and the light, and because it's an open robot, it's more comfortable for the kids. And with no noise, the kids will be very good.
Well, me as a mother, I will ask to myself if my kids are sure for the robot, if the robot will be in safety with my kids.
Yes, my kids will be also very curious to touch it, because you said that the robot will not touch the body, but the kids would like to touch them, so they are safe. I get that point, but
okay, regarding the illumination, which was your first point, the radiation of the illumination is safe. We are not talking about X-ray or something like that. It's completely safe. If we are using dark glasses, it's for your comfort, because it's annoying to have the lighting ticky all the time. Okay, that's safe. The point we are taking care of is the collision. Okay, obviously, if the patient is not collaborating, there will be collisions. And our task is that the collision is not big enough to hit the patient. So to the question of it is safe to set children inside the iToBoS or not, honestly, it has never been addressed in the consortium, because we are targeting volunteer patients that has to be, I think, older than 18 years old.
Okay. But can I ask you something else? You said about the light. The light is cold or is it warm? Because you said about the collision.
I don't know. I think the description goes farther than that. That will be, again, Coronis. You know, we are many partners here, and each partner will work in something. About the illumination, we're choosing by Coronis, and that's them who has to answer. As a project manager, I took care of the general risk, and what I can tell you is that this is not, it was not into the risk analyzed as a big risk.
No, I was asking you that because as I see it, as a non-doctor, is your light would be similar to the echo type light. The echo, you know, when you do an echo, it has light, but you don't feel it on the skin.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Okay.
I really think we are completely out of that scope, because the only thing we do is to avoid the shadows in your body. Okay, that's the only reason to have illumination, is not to have more light, but to avoid shadows. And I think we are talking about LED illumination without any concern, but really that should have been answered. That should have been answered by Coronis, preferably, or the University of Girona.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that one.
It's enough. Thank you.
But that's a very good question. And there's all this time, and we have been presenting like iToBoS and the project for, I don't know, at many conferences and meetings. The one about kids never came up. So great. Because of course, it's like, actually, we have discussions about that, but it never came up with the scanner. So that's why we do this. I love this.
And I have another question really on the sustainability side. I mean, it's always going to be, the big question is always going to be cost, because we want to see these things in our hospitals. When you're building this prototype, obviously, you know, it's going to be much more expensive. You're doing it a one-off. You've got to do all the testing. Is there an idea behind what this would cost a hospital to set up? I mean, is it at the same level as say, the other robotic machines like robotic CTs or robotic arm radiation and things like that, or is it, you know, is it something that our hospitals will be able to afford?
In terms of cost, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really too soon to talk about that. If I have to talk only about the Bosch part, the robotics, it is completely inside a hospital budget. It's not that expensive. The point is, all the development we are doing here, all the artificial intelligence, and we are many partners, and how that is going to be split by license, I believe, which is going to be the cost, who is going to do the maintenance, all those commercial items, and really the development of a product, because we are doing a prototype, it can take easily 5 years. Right? It's not a minor thing. So talking about a price now is really too soon, unfortunately.
Thank you.
From your experience, Elena, how is that working with the implementation in a country? I know that it's too early to think about, but well, somebody should pay for that. And we are working currently in a project for children, because we spoke about children. Melkaya is called, and they are, what we miss actually in iToBoS was the part of implementation. How we will convince, let's say, health technology assessment bodies, the national bodies, which are involved in the evaluation of these new technologies. How will you convince these people to fund and to include these technologies in the national programs, actually, because you want to see to scale at the end. It's not that you thought about as an engineer, but it's something that is crossing our mind all the time. At the national level, we want to see scaling in Europe, and especially in Eastern European countries. That is nice that Gili asked. in Eastern European countries, and we have many patients today here, a lot of people are just taking money out of the pocket and they're paying for these scanners, and they want to see the evolution and so on. So really thinking about how we can approach maybe earlier people at HTA level and to see what to do to evaluate and to reimburse these kind of devices. What is your opinion about that? Because you are working in this area of
Yeah,
health
it's good
technology.
that you ask me for the opinion, for my opinion, and not the real answer, because it is a very big question, that one.
Yeah,
From
absolutely.
my experience, because I'm also working in the innovation management, products that prove a benefit get fundings. That goes like that. But you first have to prove that you are going to bring a benefit to the society. That's the point number one, and we are still far away from there. Once you prove that, the little things I have done so far is to request for a second founding project. It will not be an investigation project, but an application project. Why? Because that will allow the builder, the constructor of the whole iToBoS, to start to reduce their cost. And then, so there's a previous phase, and then go to a product to the market. Once the product it goes to the market, there's a whole tree with many branches of possibilities like I could not describe here. But the way I will see in it is first to prove it is valuable, and then to request funding for a real application in a hospital.
So you are thinking about collecting real world data, something like this, to validate it in the real world setting.
Yeah, I would say one hospital ask for funding to buy the first iToBoS, and they share results in order the other countries or the other regions of the country, I don't know if it will be national or Europeans, see the benefit in a real test field. And so you see, it's
makes sense. Yeah.
We are talking about 5 years since the iToBoS first prototype has given proof of success.
Yeah.
Maybe to build a little bit on it, and that's we are running out of time, so it is more maybe an outlook, so something that could be interesting, I think, for us to take forward. Something that we have seen, and this is why everyone is worried here, is that the integration of devices or these early detection devices into our healthcare systems is often not working. So you can go somewhere and you can have a scan, but then something has to happen. And that usually means that a lesion has to be removed, and there needs to be the pathology, and the diagnostic chain has to get kicked in. So that's why we are so interested in how do we integrate this into our healthcare systems. I'm sure there's a process in place. You already said like how I think from our perspective, because this is out of our world, it would be really interesting to learn what happens. So what happens, what's the next step, and how do we get it into a healthcare system in a way that actually makes it accessible for all of us. So maybe that's something to take off afterwards and to work on for another Meet iToBoS, because I think that for us would be helpful to know. So are there any last questions for Elena? It's like I'm trying to see whether there are any hands raised or just speak up. Otherwise, at this point, I would like to thank you, Elena. Fantastic. It's really exciting to see something that started as you said, this little drawing at the beginning, because this is what we all saw at the beginning and what it looks now for real. I've taken some, I think it was really interesting to the thoughts, like the time of the exposure of the patient. I had never heard of a collaborative robot. So I think that's interesting to see how the machines that we meet in hospital actually come to be. The safety part and the collision part, kids or adults alike, I think is something that probably most of us wouldn't have thought about. We heard about the lenses and the images and what to do with them, but that there's a part before was valuable. I think for us, something also to take forward, apart from this introduction of the product into the healthcare system, it would also be as brought forward the compatibility between different systems, whether one what one does with prior images. So to think whether we could integrate this with other systems, and then the proof of benefit that I think all of us are very keen on, because there's no point of doing something unless it did benefits patients for us. So with that, thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you for joining us this morning, and it was fascinating.